Well, thousands of Moroccans opting to stay outdoors for a second night, sleeping on the streets, fearing aftershocks. Let's get the latest. SABC News correspondent Alex Cadier is in Marrakesh and joins us live. Alex, thank you very much. What have you seen on the streets of Marrakesh? We know yesterday residents, tourists, people were simply panicked. What have you seen?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I want to paint a picture for you of something I saw last night. A very elderly gentleman in his wheelchair with his 2-year-old granddaughter on his lap, and they were just on a patch of grass next to a very large avenue, a very large road, and they said, we don't feel safe going home. We don't feel like our homes are a safe place to be. So they would much rather, even this elderly gentleman who couldn't move very well, would much rather be outside with his family than be in homes that don't feel safe. And that's really the picture that we've heard from a lot of residents in Marrakesh. Their homes haven't been damaged, but they're too scared to go back at the moment. The real question will be whether or not that will be the case for another night tonight. We'll obviously keep you updated as we go, but you can see behind me the mosque has been damaged. The tower over the mosque was 3 meters above the main structure of the building, but actually collapsed onto a pickup truck underneath. So it's been quite a lot of structural damage. Not that many deaths actually in Marrakesh itself, so that's something to rejoice for. But certainly residents of Marrakesh still worried, and possibly still too worried to go home.
So the big concern, obviously, is the mountainous areas, and people were cut off yesterday. How are the rescue efforts going, and how accessible are those areas today?
Well, they're going as quickly as they can. That's probably the best way to describe it. I've just spoken to a local guide who's from the area and says, well, look, some of these places, it's not about clearing the rubble off the roads. It's the fact that there are no roads to begin with. You can only access some of these remote villages on horseback or with a donkey or using small trails by foot. And that is what will be taking so long, is accessing these very, very remote villages. Indeed, a lot of the ones that are on roads, I'm told, the structures are built in cement and concrete, and that makes it more dangerous in the case of a collapse, because obviously it's a lot heavier than smaller stone structures. So there's a lot to contend with. The authorities moving as quickly as they can to get to these remote places, but it is very, very challenging terrain indeed, and they all worry that the death toll may go up in the hours to come.
Many countries are saying they're standing by or they're ready to help. How coordinated does the rescue effort feel right now? I presume that's still in the hands of the government.
At the moment, it feels like that international aid, those international offers of help are there if Morocco wants them. That is the sense we get. We know that Spain has received an official request for assistance, but France hasn't. So that's one of those pictures. We're not entirely sure how that decision-making process happens, but certainly that will be the situation as it stands. UNESCO, as you said, will offer to help and will offer to step in to help things like the historic red wall around the city of Marrakesh and to be repaired, and those heritage sites as well. But there's a lot of international offers for help, and the Moroccan government will choose what it deems necessary and needed. It is taking a lot of steps itself. A field hospital being set up by the Moroccan army here in Marrakesh, camps being set up in the mountains for people to relocate to when they've lost their homes. So a lot going on, and certainly a lot more going on in the next few days to come.
There were fears yesterday about the safety of aid workers due to possible aftershocks, and you spoke about that elderly man and the young kid. Is there not a sense now that the danger has passed, or is there's still a possibility of very significant after tremors?
The sense of that the danger has passed, I wouldn't say is completely here yet, but it's certainly looming less large than it was last night. It was a bit of a gloomy energy in the air here in Marrakesh yesterday evening, deep into the night, because people weren't sure, and you could sense a sense of walking on eggshells and expecting an aftershock, expecting a tremor, never knowing when it will hit, and that is a very strange place to be in. Now, as time goes on, as the first earthquake seems further and further away, there is less concern, but for people who have seen houses collapse and seen loved ones in very perilous situations, it's hard to move on that quickly. So, as I mentioned, the interesting thing to look out for later in the day is whether or not people go back to the streets, or if those numbers dwindle and people slowly return home. We will hear more from the government on that and on the structural integrity. There has been no official risk of aftershock declared, but that's certainly something that looms large in the minds of people here in Marrakesh.
All right, thank you very much, SABC News correspondent Alex Cadier.